Hello. And so today I wanted to talk about the first question that I really struggled with, which was, but why? I remembered uh, con- asking myself a lot, but why? And even when I would converse with my wife, who really uh, was there for me in a lot of the darker moments of it, it was even still then asking, but why? And so I want to get into that. But first, I'd like to ask, which I haven't done this at all yet. So I would like to ask if you could please like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. I want to try to grow this channel as much as possible and get this information out. And any of that would help uh, build that algorithm and show that people are interested in it and help get this information out. I would also like to state that I am not a uh, psychiatrist, psychotherapist, anything, any sort of that, and I highly recommend you um, reach out and find that if you are in any kind of um, working through any kind of trauma at all. I do it. Lots of people do it. It's definitely beneficial to do it. Um, with that. So I remember feeling very cliche about asking myself, but why? Like almost like the feeling like I was just doing it because it's what you see on TV or in the movie. Someone goes through this traumatic event and they're like, but why did it happen to me? And feeling very stupid asking myself that question and asking other people, but why did this happen to me? But why did this have to happen to me? But why does this happen at all? How could God let this happen? Um, but at the end of the day, it was, but what am I going to do with this? Which is what really helped push me through it because it didn't matter why it happened. It sucked why it happened, but in that moment, that was me living in the moment of knowing what had happened to me, but not accepting what had happened to me. And that is a very easy place to live, of continuing to just stay stuck in the but why, in the knowing. Lots of people know about their traumas, but a lot of people don't do anything about it. They find whatever outlet it is that they're going to cope with it, whether that be alcohol, smoking weed, video games, shopping, um, spending money. Uh, there's lots of different coping mechanisms people use to stay stuck in the but why. But what are you going to do about it? Do you want to stay that? Do you feel like that's who you are in those moments? That it's just, well, I like doing this, and that's good enough. But who would you be if you were able to move past that, if you were able to get away from the the knowing and moving into the acceptance of what happened to you, of not letting it define who you are, letting it be part of your story instead of it being your whole story. You got to move past it, because if not, it becomes who you are. And it's not what I wanted. I wanted to find out who I truly was, and I knew I was a good person, but I also knew that if I continued living the way I was living, that I would never even know who I truly was for myself. It was I'm just going to stay stuck in this different loops of coping, and my life wasn't bad by any means, and so many people, just get by and are very happy with, going about their day and smoking a bowl at the end of the day or rubbing one out in the middle of the day and eating food. And, I like the food. It makes me happy. It makes me feel good. It tastes good. Of course, it tastes good. Like it's loaded down with a bunch of sugar, and it's, especially in America, designed to be addictive and to keep you in that state and to keep you wanting to just live that way. Um, but I felt that I was called for so much more, that I knew I was worth more than just getting by and being mediocre. And sure, I could have been very content with how I was living, and I could have been very happy with who I was for the most part, but I wasn't, because I knew I was meant for more, and I knew I needed to do more. I was not being the man I wanted to be for my children, for my parents, for my wife, for my nieces and nephews. I've always felt exemplary, uh, and that I was meant to be that way. And living under those different coping mechanisms kept me from being that way. But breaking free from those coping mechanisms meant I had to find healthy coping mechanisms, and I had to find ways that would elevate me instead of keeping me content. Um, which, like I talked about in the last video, was exercising, um, volunteering, helping others, putting other needs above my own, and trying my best to help as much as I can, anybody, anywhere, no matter what, as long as I have that opportunity, but still in the parameters of my family comes first. That is like my hard line as a father and as a man. And then trying to break away from technology as much as possible, using technology as a tool instead of using technology as an addictive component of my life, which is very easy to do, to fall into cell phone games, video games, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, all that crap. It's way too easy. But that is what got me through the but why, was knowing that I wanted more. And it was no longer the but why did this happen to me, and it was but why should I stay here and stay stuck? But why should this continue to weigh me down? But why do I have to continue living this way when I don't? And the only person who can change that is you. And you have to want it. You have to want it bad, and you have to want to continue fighting for it. Um, it's not an overnight success. I'm sure there are people out there who have overnight successed it, and that is awesome. They are uh, the exception to the rule, which is why there's the rule. That wasn't me, hasn't been me. Still actively working through it. I still have times where it's, but why do I keep falling into this, down this slope and falling into these traps? And it seems like the more you want it and the better you're doing at it and the harder you're fighting for it, the harder the enemy just pushes and fights back against you. Um, you could be going on a good stretch of breaking free of all these different coping mechanisms you're trying to get away from, and then something catastrophic will happen. You'll have a crazy stressful day, um, and your kids are driving you up the wall, or someone's nagging at you, or everything that could go wrong went wrong, and it is just continuing. It started from before you were even out of bed to, by the time you laid your bed down. And those are those moments where your brain is going, I know what can make this feel better. I know what can make you feel good. What's wrong with getting you a bowl of ice cream? Or, we can just go and we can rub one out. We can sit here and play video games nonstop and ignore everything else going on around you, and continue to hide from this and live in a subset of reality. And we'll deal with the consequences later. And then when you deal with the consequences later, it's so much harder to come back from that. Um, and then a lot of times you find yourself in the, well, I've already messed up today doing this. I might as well do this as well. And I might as well just keep this ball rolling. And you're making um, a permanent failure out of a temporary defeat. And it does not make stepping back any easier. It makes it more difficult. So, um, easier said than done. Easier said in a clear headed, focused moment than it is a I'm stuck in this moment. Um, and a lot of it is changing the mindset, changing the, you know, yes, I'm upset about this. This is sucking. I want to do this. And then just really trying to hold tight, push through. Um, really good not to self isolate in those moments. Try to stay around people, keep you connected, um, especially as you work through the but why. For me, I was able to push through the but why in about 2 or 3 days. I didn't stay hung up on it long. I didn't want to stay hung up on it. I I had already gone so much of my life living the way I was living without knowing why, and then it was having that breath of air of I understand why. Um, but you got to do something with it. For me, I mean, I would have outbursts of anger, frustration, irritability, and I didn't want to continue living like that. I hated it, and it's you got to do something with that anger, and you have every right to be angry because of what happened. But why are you going to continue to be angry at those who had nothing to do with it? Um, Other than, have you considered that you're acting like the other person? Um, that's doesn't fit all, but that fits some. That fit me at times where I would be angry because of something happening, and it was because of I was the other person reacting to how I reacted, and that modeled behavior and how that sits on your head. And none of this, and dealing with none of this makes sense at times, makes it easy. I hate it a lot of the times. It drives me crazy sometimes trying to wrestle with it, knowing that I don't want to do these things, and and trying to just stay grounded and focused and trying to remember, do these breathing exercises, do this, do that. And it's not because I want to be some like Zen Dao hippie guru crybaby guy. It's that I don't want to yell at my kids for something irrelevant. I don't want to get frustrated with my wife because of something that has nothing to do with her that I blew up about over nothing. Because my brain is freaking out saying that it feels threatened and I need to go into self preservation, and I need to protect myself, and continue to push everybody away and self isolate and self destruct when that's not what I truly want. One of my biggest fears is being um, separated from them. And it's, but I get in these times where that's what happens. I want to lash out because I feel like my safety is threatened. Um, and it's a talking down, it is a stopping and like, this is how I feel. You have to say it out loud. It doesn't always work getting it out of your head, just working it out in your head. Sometimes like you have to like talk it out with your wife and like you feel stupid and crazy and you feel like a bitch because you're doing it. But eventually it gets easier. Eventually you get to the point to where you can just talk it out in your head. You can go, all right, this is what's happening. This is why I feel that way before you say anything reactionary. you're able to grasp it and hold on to it, sift through it, and then go, all right, you know, I feel threatened. I'm not threatened. It's cool. I'm all right. Let's take a moment to breathe and then enter back into the conversation. There's nothing wrong with, like, hey, I need a second before I continue on. I know that is another easier said than done thing, especially if your conversation's already leading into an argument. But if you open up this dialogue well ahead of time and let your significant other know that you have something you're working through, um, to whatever level you're willing to open up and speak with them about, um, it makes it easier. You got to have someone who's on your side with it. And if they aren't willing to help you through it, then, maybe that's not the one. Um, I would imagine anybody who is in a relationship with somebody does not want to continue to see them hurt. And if they are not willing to work with you for you to better yourself, then that does not sound like a relationship that I would want to be interested in being a part of at all. I'm very fortunate, blessed, grateful, humbled that my wife is my biggest cheerleader. She would help me through anything, and I know she would. And I'm so grateful to have her. And um, she's an amazing woman. And but I know that's not everybody, and some people have difficult times even talking about this with anybody. Some people have had this happen and they don't talk about it with. They've never spoken about it at all. Um, but why live that way? Why continue going on that way? You are hiding from who you truly are, and you have to start. You have to want to let go of it, and then you have to start working through it. It is a good thing to look into with that is self mastery. That really helps you sift through the emotions and build and develop the discipline needed to get through this. It is a lot of discipline. It is a lot of doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. For me, I started building my discipline with working out. It has been one of my biggest things. It is where I really push myself. And even with that, if you really want to get through your butt why, find something incredibly difficult to do. And don't hide in music. Don't hide in an audio book. Don't hide in a podcast. Like, start start listening with that. But once, and by incredibly hard, I mean like hours and hours of a physically grueling event. Um, and you will get to a breaking point where you can really fight with yourself and you can really hash some shit out. For me, it was running. I hated running. I still, at a point, hate running, but I do it very commonly. At least I try really hard to run 5 times a week, um, a minimum of 4 miles, uh, until I ran my first half marathon, and now I'm looking to run more. But I hit a very deep mental breaking point on my first half marathon within the last few miles. Um, I apologize. There's a helicopter, and I'm not quite sure how much the microphone is picking that up. Joys of living near military installation. Um, and I found myself asking myself questions that I didn't even know I had, and answering myself with answers that I didn't know, um, or was expecting. Uh, but I've seen a lot of other people comment very similarly that doing something very mentally physically taxing to get to that mental point. Um, if you want to try to go it alone, then that's what I recommend. If you're not going to talk with anybody, if you don't have anyone to talk with it about, um, doing that, um, call the suicide hotline. You know, I use the vet crisis line if I need to talk something out. If you're willing to talk, I mean, the good thing about that is they're a complete stranger. You only give them what you want to give them. They got your phone number at most, and yeah, you can get a lot with that nowadays. But give them what you want. Like, hey, I just need to talk this out. I need someone to hash this out with. If you don't want to talk to them, if you're interested, you can try reaching out to me. I monitor what the traffic on the channel pretty regularly. You can email. Uh, I would gladly listen, but you got to do something other than continuing to find the bottom of a bottle, um, or sitting around and laying in bed, beating off into oblivion, um, or whatever it is that you're doing. Uh, there's more to life than just trying to make yourself feel better because of a bad situation. You can work through it. It will always be there, but the more you work through it, the more you fight back, the more you push through it, the easier it gets. And start logging it. I have a note on my iPhone that I read every morning that is 2 or 3 paragraphs long, and it's what I want to do. I don't want emotions to control my life. I want to cut emotional impulsive behavior. Um, I don't want these specific things to rule my life. I want to rule my life. I am in control of my life. Um, do whatever it is that you got to do to find that, figure out what you want. And if you're happy where you are, then you're happy where you are. And I hope that one day you're willing to push through and find out who you truly are. Because if you've had these traumatic events happen to you, and you're just content with coping, then you're not living to your fullest potential. You are getting by, in my opinion, and that may hurt to hear. It may be a hard truth, but it's, in my opinion, the truth. And you're either going to continue to live that way, or you're going to get your ass up and you're going to do something. Um, and I'm rooting for you. I want to see everybody come out from under this and be stronger than who they were. I continually learn about more and more people who have had these events happen to them. Um, Unfortunately for me, I don't know if I've talked about it. I know in the first episode I talked about my rape. I don't know if I talked about. I had another event about a year after the rape, where I was molested, and by a young lady. Um, and it's like, unfortunately, I have 2 different you know touches with that trauma at a young age, and it's unfortunate that it happened, but I'm not going to stay stuck in that. I'm I'm actively working through that, um, and at times I find myself frustrated and struggling because of it. But I continue to step forward. I continue to sift through it, and I continue to accept it and not let it define me. Letting it be a part of my story. Same thing with like my military career. So many people I see who get out of the military and they are just like stuck in that like bro vet mentality. And for me, it was, the military was a portion of my life. It was a chapter of my life, but it does not define who I am. It did for a little bit, and then I started to break away and get away from that. Um, I don't have any like I'm a veteran stickers or anything on my cars or anything like that. I don't even stand up half the time when they ask for veterans to stand up. Not that I'm ashamed of my service or anything. I don't care for it. It's not. It doesn't define me. It's something that I did years ago, and it's whatever to me now. I still have so much more of my life yet to live, and why should it all be broken down into two categories of uh, sexual trauma and I'm a veteran? Um, that doesn't make me who I am. I decide who I am and what I'm doing. And right now, what I want to do and who I am is the man on the mend. I'm and I want to try to help other men, get through this and become leaders and free themselves from this mental bondage and this anger, and take that anger and harness it and focus it and shoot it in a direction that is will propel them and really let them harness themselves. And that's what got me through my butt why was the frustration of what happened to me and wanting to do something with that, seeing this vacuum in the space of men who don't want to talk about it, who are afraid to talk about it, and don't want to see how it controls their lives, even though there's aspects of it that it's running. And it's not too late. You don't want to be the the crazy guy downtown walking around talking to himself. You don't want to be the guy who's alone drinking on the couch, pushes everybody away, and it's just nobody gets me. I just don't get along with nobody. You don't have to do that. You know, you know, you can go that route. That can be who you become if that's what you want. But you don't have to. You can be so much more than that. And I'm pulling for you. I'm be your biggest advocate if I know about you, and even if I don't know about you, like I am pulling for you. I want to see you grow and just expand in the best ways possible, and really conquer, this disease, this epidemic that has riddled through our society, and it is just everywhere. And so many people don't want to talk about it because it's shameful, and it's understandable, and it's because people don't want to talk about it. But uh, that is what got me through my butt why was not wanting to stay stuck in it, wanting to grow from it, and realizing I was worth more and meant for more than just mediocrity. Um, that's all I got this week. Again, I asked if you could leave any feedback, positive, negative, neutral. I am not afraid of criticism. Um, Leave it in the comment section, email it. If you want to talk, I'm available. Uh, you can reach out to me through one of those avenues, and then I can touch bases with you and we can work something out. Please like, subscribe, share. All of it's free, costs you nothing, helps me out. I want to continue trying to grow this channel and pushing all this information out. And as it grows, um, in viewership, and I plan on growing the channel more, but I didn't want to wait. I wanted to start. Um, so with that, I plan to continue doing live streams once a week, um, life dependent. I try to do live streams on Wednesdays around 11 noon Eastern time. And I look forward to sitting down next week and going over some more information.